How was it for you in trying to fit in? Because everyone has to fit in when they came over here.
Well, let's start off with how things change. Like I said,
Mhm.
somebody like you came in '89. You came you went, it wasn't a rush situation. There were different things that you had access to that I just didn't. When I came here, imagine once again, my parents were not, I didn't come from a poor family. Let's put it that way, right?
Right.
Right. I came here and literally for the first 4 years that I lived in the United States, I didn't have enough money to buy my own jeans. I used to wear my cousin's hand-me-down jeans. I used to wear, you know, friends, shoes and stuff like that. Um, and I mean, the language barrier for me, that was not an issue because I had gone to American school, so I had the capacity to speak the lingo a lot better than most people.
Right.
But imagine being raised your entire life, let's just call it what it is, as a rich kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now you're dirt poor.
Mm.
Like I didn't even have, like I said, you know, I remember going to school and I got into school in the United States on scholarship.
Wow.
I just so happened that years earlier I had taken the SAT, and I had scored at that time 1350 on the SAT was very high. I scored 1350, and then also I got an athletic scholarship. And you wouldn't even believe how I got the athletic scholarship. I was there trying to get into this school, and they're looking at my SATs, and then the lady in the admission office asked me, yeah, you're from Africa. Do you play any sports? And I said,
Welcome to the UMG Podcast. I'm your host, Jerome Sheldon. As always, we have a beautiful show for you today. Now, if you're new to this channel, we ask you to please like and subscribe in the link below. So, without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to the UMG Podcast. Today we have a wonderful show lineup for us today. I have a dear friend and brother in the studio with us today. Now, he's the CEO and owner of Titus Unlimited. And he's a former financial advisor who worked for over a decade for industrial giants such as Morgan Stanley and Citigroup. But he is now investing his time as an advocate in the health and wellness industry. Nowadays, he is involved in several business ventures and has become a social media wellness icon, Titus Unlimited. He's dedicated his time to building his worldwide brand that is Title Unlimited, and also Unlimited Supplications, or supplements rather, of which he is the sole owner of that. And of Unlimited Supplement is a full, all natural and high quality supplement product line. He brings simplicity and practicality to his work, helping clients to draw on their strength to realize the one thing: money can buy a good health and wellness. And last but not least, he's a founding member of the Civil Fox Squad. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome Jean Titus. Okay, so Titus, I'm
Yes,
glad to
sir.
have yes, I'm glad to have you on. Well, for us here, it's in the morning time, so both on both sides of the equation. It's early, but we tried to get through this. I know the last time we tried to do this, and of course, we know the reason why. So this time around, we try.
We won't talk about that.
Yes, 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 we get that right. Okay, so as always, Titus, on the show, we try to introduce our guests on a personal level to our audience. So we kind of go back in time a little bit. Of course, I'm surprised if no one knows Jean Titus, but there are people out there that don't know who you are. So we'll try to fill in the blanks with that and kind of let them see your journey.
Right.
So, how are you doing this morning, my brother?
I'm doing fantastic, man. It's a pleasure having me. It's a pleasure being on with you. So
Uh, Absolutely. Okay. So, where were you born?
I was born in Monrovia, Liberia, and raised in Monrovia. You know, grew up between the Old Road and the Painesville, Garnersville area. Uh, Went to school in Liberia. Different formative schools uh, from Bright Functional to ACS, ELWA. Um, uh, I did JJ Roberts for a while, and then St. Patrick's, and then Cuttington.
Oh, okay. So basically, it's similar all in La Bro called the quiz school, right? All in
Exactly.
okay. But for some reason, I always, of course, we met up in St. Patrick's. I, for some reason, always thought that you came to St. Patrick's from the States.
No,
No.
no. I
Oh,
had I had gone to a lot of the American schools. I went to ELW and ACS, and so I had visited the states numerous times. But I never, I no, I did all my schooling, my early schooling in Liberia.
okay. Yeah. And like myself, you're one of those who actually went through the school, the various system,
Yeah.
the school, elementary, high school, and of course, college as well too.
Yeah.
So, um, tell us, how was it like, um, your high school years? How was that like? How was it like being in high school? Of course, in Patrick High School.
You know, St. Patrick's High School has to be one of my fondest memories as far as school. You know, the camaraderie, the brotherhood, you know, and the teachers as well. You know, the structure that St. Patrick's High School gave me. I would not do it any differently at all. There would be nothing I would change about that, about you know, my high school experience and where I did it.
Absolutely. And like
Yeah.
you said, camaraderie, that was something. I mean, when you talk about St. Patrick's, you talk about B.W. Harris, you talk about Cathedral, you talk about CWA. Back in those days, I mean, it was a pride just, where you came from,
Yeah, I
in
don't
terms
think
of
anything
school.
compares. Even people who went to B.W. Harris, right,
Yeah,
or all the other schools, nothing compared to St. Patrick's. It was a different vibe. You know, everything was different. You know, as a matter of fact, half the people that went to B.W. Harris and St. Patrick's, I mean, it's B.W. Harris and Cathedral and all those other schools, because honestly, they put out at St. Patrick's. You know,
yeah, yeah. And that was the thing about St. Patrick. I mean, it was a standard that was there. So even though you got into the school, but I remember you had to have a certain GPA
right?
to be able to go to the next class or remain in
Yep.
school. And a very few of us that started from seventh grade. and went all the way through, to 12th grade.
I forget the
So,
teacher who said St. Patrick's is like a sifter.
okay.
So every year the
Yeah.
sifter gets smaller, you know what I'm saying? You know, and so, every year, you lose, we were losing any anywhere from 5 to 10. I think the 10th grade year we lost like 25 people
Right. Right.
due to grade point average and various things. So yeah, just making it out of St. Patrick's was a badge of honor itself.
Absolutely. Because I
Yeah,
remember we started off with, now it was 7A and 7B, and you kind of go through the ranks, 7A, 7B. Is that 7A, 7B, or 7172?
7172.
Yeah, it was 7172, and then 8182. But by the time we got to, I think, 11th grade, we didn't have that many to have two.
No, we had one in 11th grade. As a matter of fact, in 10th grade we had three.
Right. And
Yeah,
then they had to adjust it,
and they
bring it
con- and
down.
they condensed down to one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that's and that make you kind of proud too when you think about it.
yeah,
That's an early stage for us where again that competitiveness, but also taking things seriously.
yeah.
What kind of it kind of started in that range with us, so to speak. What do you think?
Yeah, and even to play basketball was a harder standard too, because to play basketball we had to have a higher there was a higher standard to be on the team. You had to have a higher grade point average than the average, because if you didn't have that higher grade point average, you would sit. They would not allow you to play.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Now speaking about basketball, I know you have a very interesting story on that part. For some reason, in my case, of course, when I actually started seeing you playing, which was varsity,
right.
um, and you're a very good player, but you say it didn't start up that way.
Oh no, no, I didn't start off that way at all. I was terrible in the ninth grade. I sucked. I sucked. The only reason why I was on the ninth grade JV team, right,
Right.
was
Mhm.
because my cousin Rafi Wright was the assistant coach. He and Otello was the head coach. Rafi was the assistant, and I was able to be on the team. But I sucked. We were the best JV team in the country, right, and we beat everybody by at least 30 points,
Mhm.
easily. And I didn't get into. I was the only one on the team that did not see 1 minute of court time. And the truth
Wow.
is, like I said, I wasn't even mad at my cousin about it, because the truth was I sucked. I didn't. It deep in my heart of hearts, I knew I didn't belong out there. But that was one of the times where my true personality started to form, because as opposed to being somebody who complained about that, I looked within and I went. And over the summertime, in Liberia, I don't know if they still do this. I'm assuming they do, but we used to go to school we used to have our break from November to March.
Right.
And during that break, I went and I got better. I got so good that, a month, I think there was at least 8 or 9 people that were on the JV team from my ninth grade. And everybody came out to try out for basketball, because at that time, Kojo Anderson Sako used to let everybody try out.
Right.
And at the end of the tryouts, a short, 5 months later, I was the only sophomore that was on varsity.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So everybody remembers that guy, but nobody remembers the guy that sucked.
Now, your defense, I will say this, because when you made a JV team, of course, you had some top-notch players on that JV team, that were
Yeah.
probably that were above us in class.
No, no, no. The JV team, the max grade was ninth. So it
Well,
was
nice. But
all
what
of
I'm
us.
saying is, when did you make the JV team? Was that in seventh grade or eighth grade, right?
No, ninth grade.
Ninth grade. Oh, you made it in
Ninth,
ninth grade.
ninth
Oh,
grade.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
had no excuse.
Okay. All right. I'm trying to give you a little leeway here,
No, no,
but that's okay.
there's no
That's all
excuse.
right. That's all right. All right. So then you got good, obviously, and of course, the varsity season, we saw the whole difference in that. How did that come about?
Just hard work and determination, man. Everybody that was on the JV team went out and tried out for varsity, but at the end of the day, it came down to the amount of work and effort and energy that I put into it, the belief I had into myself. Yeah, I had in myself,
Mhm.
and I brought that to bear. and we saw that, and that's what gave me the nod. And then what you guys saw was everything after that, ninth, 10th, I mean 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, all the way to graduation.
Right. Yeah. So again, so you can see how this entrepreneur, because you kind of link that to it, kind of spirit,
Yeah,
was being cultivated. And again, shout out to St. Patrick's High School. I mean, they put that in us
yeah.
from day one. All
I
right.
wouldn't say they put that in it. They brought it
They,
out of you.
they
Nobody can
put,
put it in you.
okay.
Yeah, they
Right.
can bring it out of you. That's it. But there's something that you have to have for yourself, and what
Right.
and your environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And either I always tell people your environment can either make you or break you. And I think what tests people, what proves people is adversity. Reveals itself makes people reveal their true self. Some people, when they face adversity, they fold. Some people, when
Mm-hmm.
they face adversity, that's when they shine. That's when they stand. You know.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. So now let's pivot a little bit now from Liberia. You left Liberia, and then of course you came to the States.
Okay.
Um, when did you come to the U.S.?
I came to the U.S. 1990, at the very a few months into the war. You know, so basically had to pack up and get out of there in a hurry. Um, and so yeah, I came here, and it was a difficult situation. Because I had enjoyed a different social economic status, my entire life, and then you come here and you literally have nothing. you
Yeah.
know. And But once again, the training and the upbringing that I had, from my parents, and not only that, but for being in St. Patrick's School, where nobody treats you special, where you have to earn what you get, all those different things. Those things helped me tremendously to um, find my level, and to continue to build and thrive.
Right. Okay. So what would you say then was perhaps the difference? You kind of touch upon it a little bit, but the difference between the lifestyle in Liberia
Hmm.
and when you came to the States at the time. Because for me, and like I tell most people, it was a challenge for me in terms of coming to the States and even trying to go to the basketball court. You're trying to fit in so much. At times, I won't say anything when I'm on the basketball court because I don't want people asking me, once they pick up the accent, like where you from, and then I have to explain all those things. And those are some of the things that I regret when I look back now because when you're doing stuff, when you're doing stuff like that, you're actually trying to lose your identity. Your
Right.
identity, you're trying to lose that in the process. How was it for you in trying to fit in? Because everyone has to fit in when they came over here.
Well, let's start off with how things change. Like I said,
Mhm.
somebody like you came in '89. You came. You went. It wasn't a rush situation. There were different things that you had access to that I just didn't. When I came here, imagine once again, my parents were not. I didn't come from a poor family. Let's put it that way, right?
Right.
Right. I came here, and literally for the first 4 years that I lived in the United States, I didn't have enough money to buy my own jeans. I used to wear my cousin's hand-me-down jeans. I used to wear, you know, friends, shoes and stuff like that. Um, and I mean, the language barrier for me, that was not an issue because I had gone to American school, so I had the capacity to speak the lingo a lot better than most people.
Right.
But imagine being raised your entire life, let's just call it what it is, as a rich kid, right?
Hmm.
And now you're dirt poor.
Hmm.
Like I didn't even have, like I said, you know, I remember going to school, and I got into school in the United States on scholarship.
Wow.
I just so happened that years earlier I had taken the SAT, and I had scored at that time 1,350 on the SAT was very high. I scored 1,350, and then also I got an athletic scholarship. And, you wouldn't even believe how I got the athletic scholarship. I was there trying to get into this school, and they're looking at my SATs, and then the lady in the admission office asked me, yeah, you're from Africa. Do you play any sports? And I said, yeah, I play a little basketball. And it just so happened 5 minutes later, the basketball coach walked by the office. Now we're talking about this is late July,
Hmm.
trying to get into school in 2 or 3 weeks. And so the
Hmm.
guy said, oh, you play basketball? Okay, well, come on to the gym with me and let me see what you can do. And so I'm
Right.
literally in this gym with jeans, high bottom shoes, and a shirt. and they
Wow.
pass me the ball and I'm shooting. And you remember how I used to shoot. And
Right.
so after I think I hit like 10 shots in a row, I got a scholarship.
Wow.
I got a scholarship to play. I had a 25% scholarship to play basketball, 25% they maybe play soccer, and then
Oh, wow.
50% and 50% academic. And then I mean the next year I was able to get a full ride basketball scholarship, but
Right.
that's how I was able to get in, because
Mm.
I didn't have the money for nothing else, you know.
Mm. Wow.
And yeah, it was an experience, like I said, I remember the first time it got below I think it was 70, 65, 70 degrees. I had never been in that type of in that type of temperature before.
Right.
I'd never been in that temperature before, and so it was a shock to my system. And I remember I didn't have enough money. I didn't have a winter jacket. I had a members only jacket,
Mm. Oh, wow.
and so luckily for me,
Right.
I was wearing the team's sweatsuit, the fleece. That was all I had. So I had to double up and triple up and stuff like that, and it was a different experience, But once again, the quote
Mhm.
says, adversity reveals a man to himself. And so, that adversity made me try harder. That adversity made me understand that I had to do more, just to get myself up to the even line, and I did
Mhm.
that, and the rest is history.
Right. Oh, okay. Excellent. Yeah. And now let's pivot a little bit now into your career side of things.
Mhm.
How you got into um, your journey, career wise. Now,
Mhm.
obviously, you started off in the financial industry,
Actually, I
work
started off in sales.
in sales. Oh,
hmm
okay.
I
And
started
then,
off in sales for a little while, and
mhm,
then I saw the the opportunity that existed in financial services, and
right.
um and I wanted to do that. I didn't know anyone who had done it, but just like I wasn't qualified to be on the varsity team, I made myself qualified. I went out and I applied for the job, and yeah, I was the only black broker for Morgan Stanley in an office of 47 brokers.
Mm,
I was the only black broker in
right.
there. Yeah.
And I remember those time. I think you started off with you did something with insurance, uh, right? I think
I
so.
started off with oh man, that's
As
right.
a portfolio,
I started off at the time it was First Union. I was working at First Union Bank, which is
right?
now Wachovia. I was
Okay.
working as a personal banker, and yes,
Okay.
we were doing insurance and all that kind of stuff like that. And then I switched to Morgan Stanley. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
totally
remember
forgot about that.
I remember that because you called me one time, and tried to get this financial portfolio for me,
Right.
insurance and things like that. So yeah, so you started early, in those stages. So how was it like working, with Morgan Stanley and Citibank?
Working in the financial services industry was great.
Okay.
It was eye opening. It showed me a lot of things, but once again, it reminded me
Hmm.
of a lot of things that I had grown up um, learning from my father. My father had drilled in me since I was a child that money wasn't everything. And although we were making money, right, there was just not that level of fulfillment there. And once again, this is no knock to anybody that works in financial services, but for me,
Right.
I have never been driven by money. And
Mm.
so as I progressed, and I just decided one day, because other things were happening in life, that I just didn't want to do that anymore. And then I started to venture off into business on my own, investing in different businesses and what have you. And I found a lot more freedom there, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but it wasn't until well, after my mother died, I started to search a little bit more for what I really wanted to do,
Right.
and I started to get more into health and more into, and then I realized that I really liked doing that. I was passionate about health. I was passionate about about figuring out the human body, why people were
Hmm.
getting sick, and helping people get better. And you know, the thing they say about life, if you want to find true happiness, um, find a purpose and a passion. All right. And the
Mhm.
formula to finding purpose and passion is very simple. All right.
Mhm.
Ask yourself, you know, what are you good at? Okay.
Mhm.
What do you like doing? So you find something that you like doing that you're good at. Okay. And
Right.
if you like doing it and you're not good at it, invest your time, your energy, your effort. You know, that whole 10,000 hour rule where you spend 10,000 hours trying to learn something or putting time into learning something, you will become an expert. You spend 10,000 hours doing anything, and you will
Mhm.
be amongst the 1% of people in the world that do it the best. And that in itself will make people pay you to do it because no one else for miles will be able to do it as well as you.
Right.
10,000 hours. All right. And then the next thing about it, I always tell people this is a litmus test about your purpose and your passion. Does the world need this? If you want to do a business that you like, that
Mhm.
you're good at,
Mhm.
and that people need, you never have to worry about being successful. Because if you put
Wow.
in the time and the energy,
Right.
where that you put in that 10,000 hours, you spend time getting better every single day at what you do. All
Mhm.
right. If you really enjoy doing it, right? No one
Mhm.
has to force you to do it. You'll get up and you'll do it, right?
Right.
And then if the world needs it, you will always find people who will be willing and wanting your expertise, your service, your this, your that, and you will never have problems in that business. Put it that way.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
And now obviously you started off, like I say, in the financial industry, and then you kind of pivot and went into fitness, with the health. Now, for me, it was a little bit surprising because when I at one point I saw you, and I mean, prior to that, you were my size, so to speak. But then the next time I saw Titus, I mean, you sold up. And I'm like, what is going on? But you had a business that was a club, I think a bouncer or something like that business.
right.
You started off with that. How was that?
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, when I was working at when I first came here and I was in college, I started lifting weights. All
Okay.
right, and so that was part of the reason why I got more muscular.
Mm.
And you know, between then and when I started working at Morgan Stanley, I met this guy at my gym who used to, he used to have bouncers and clubs in DC,
Right.
right? And one day he asked me, he's like, "Hey, you want to come and work one day?" I was like, "Sure, why not? You know, they're paying me cash. Why not? Why not do it?"
Mm.
And that was in the early 90s. So when I was working at Morgan Stanley, I was doing that part time because it was fun to do. It was a way
Mm.
to hang out and get paid
Right.
to be out.
Right. Exactly.
Um, and I always kept those connections. But when I finally left Morgan Stanley, or in my last few, not Morgan Stanley, but at that time I was a Citigroup, or in my last few years of
Mm.
doing the the financial services thing, I realized I had garnered a good reputation, and then
Mm.
people had started asking me where they could get good people who could work in clubs, and I knew everybody at that time. And so
Right.
I formulated a simple service where I was staffing, you know, I was
Mm.
staffing clubs in the DC area. And at one point in time, at the height of that business, um, I had over 160 contractors
Mm.
um, working. And on any given Friday or Saturday, I had 125 people working, you know. And that business itself, even though a lot of people, oh, you just is a bouncer business, it grossed almost $1 million in a year.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it grossed almost $1 million in a year. And
Wow.
so once again, like I said, even when it comes down to the simplest of businesses, right? It
Mm.
requires vision, it
Right.
requires work, it requires a good reputation, you know. And and one of the reasons why I have been successful in businesses, in fact, the reason why I have been successful in businesses is vision. That's it.
Yeah.
There's a quote that I read many years ago, and it says, "Success belongs to those who can recognize opportunity before it becomes obvious. Of course, if somebody knew that all they had to do was do a business, and staff clubs with bouncers, and they could make, and they get that business would gross almost $1 million, of course they would do
Right.
it. Yeah,
Exactly.
right. But
Yeah.
but but guess what? You have to be able to see the
Yes.
potential in business before it becomes obvious, just like what I'm doing now, you
Hmm.
know. And not only do you see the potential, but then when you see the potential, there's a long period of work, right? And
Right.
sometimes that work you're going to put in, you won't see the reward, for a
Right.
very long time. I remember there was another story, and I'm going to tell you this story, and it's one of the most pivotal stories of my life
Hmm.
right now that has me where I am. You ever heard the story of the Chinese bamboo tree farmer?
No. No.
Okay. So there was this guy. Well, first of all, the Chinese bamboo trees.
Hmm.
They grow 90 feet every 90 days.
Hmm.
Okay,
Wow.
90 feet. So if you have a Chinese bamboo tree farm, right,
Hmm.
you can
Hmm.
harvest that farm 90 feet of bamboo, and you know all the different things bamboo are used for.
Right.
90 feet of bamboo every 90 days. Okay.
Hmm.
But here's the rub. It takes 5 years of watering,
Hmm.
weeding, tilling, and making sure no invasive crops come in on that farm, because it
Right.
takes 5 years for the bamboo to break the surface. So
Hmm.
does it really take 90 days for that bamboo to grow, or does it take 5 years? Because you see, the thing, when people see your success, right,
Hmm.
all they see is the 90 days. Oh man, he got lucky.
Hmm.
Okay. But
Hmm.
you have to imagine over that 5 year period, and this has happened to me,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
When people see you working on things, but they don't see the fruit of your labor, like the Chinese bamboo farmer out there watering that barren land, tilling it, that barren land. People will come and say, "Oh man, you could be planting corn, you could be doing this, you could be doing a whole bunch of things." And this is life now.
Hmm.
This is what people will tell you.
Right.
People will call you stupid for having that barren land. You wasting that land. You wasting all your talent. You could be doing this. You could be doing that. You could be doing this. You could be doing that. And only you are going to understand your Chinese bamboo tree farm until when everybody understands it, and then everybody
Right.
starts to call you lucky.
Yeah.
Everybody starts to call you, oh, everybody will make an excuse, but nobody will remember. Just like no one remembers me sucking in
The
junior high.
basketball.
No one remembers me putting in, literally
Yeah.
5, 6 hours a day in my backyard shooting on an extra small rim. Nobody remembers that. Nobody sees that part. In
Hmm.
fact, the people who used to see it, what are man doing? So he's stupid. You just
You're
playing
right.
basketball by yourself,
Yeah.
you know.
Hmm.
But then when they see you come out scoring 18 points and a half, you
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
oh, that man just got lucky. They didn't remember that I was the same guy that sat on the end of the bench
Right.
that didn't get in a game,
Yeah.
even though my family was the coach. You know,
Yeah.
the same way with this thing right now. People,
Right.
people don't remember there were many that for 3, 4 years. I made no money off of social media.
Right.
All right, it was the building of a platform. Okay, what is it?
Hmm.
What did Lionel Messi say? Messi said it took him 19 years, 7 months, and 13 days to become an overnight success.
I know, right?
Exactly.
Everybody think it just happened overnight in a few
Doesn't
days,
happen overnight.
a few
Nothing
hours.
happens overnight.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
And many people who are successful have had their varying versions of a Chinese bamboo tree farm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So one of the things I know you're very passionate about is health and wellness. Now, obviously, as we mentioned, we talk about you go into the financial part, you starting up your business as a bouncer and stuff like that. But this awareness, health and awareness, is actually something that were with you back in your early days.
Yeah, I mean, I was fit. I was an athlete, right?
Right. Right.
But I was not necessarily healthy and well. I was benefiting off of youth, you know.
Exactly. Exactly.
And it wasn't until my mother died And my
Wow.
mother was a very healthy woman. Remember, my mother was never an overweight woman. She was always very fit, very nice looking lady, you know.
Right.
And when my mother died from cancer, it concerned me because I'm like, if my mother can die from cancer, right? If she can get
Mm-hmm.
stricken down from cancer, anyone can.
Mm-hmm.
So what was she doing so wrong? And I started to delve into that. So I started to get, certifications in nutrition. I started to learn more about food. And the more I learned, I realized, oh my God, at one point in time, I was 240 pounds. I was a bigger, much bigger person. I
Mm-hmm.
changed my eating habits. I leaned down. I got myself healthier. And then people saw that and I started helping other people do it. Because one thing I realized, Sheldon, is, and that's another thing that I realized when I was working in financial services. I'm sitting
Mm-hmm.
across the table from tons of people, and they're telling me about their retirement portfolio, and I'm looking at their retirement portfolio, and I'm seeing hundreds of thousands of dollars, $1 million in their retirement portfolio, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm looking at them and saying, I don't know why you're saving this because you're not going to be alive long enough to enjoy it. Their
Wow.
health is in the toilet. A lot of people have retirement savings. A lot of people have all these things, but nobody is planning for their health. Because for a lot of people, right,
Mm-hmm.
by the time they hit their mid 50s, like where we are right now,
Mm-hmm.
they're on multiple medications. They spend half their day in pain. They wake up with problems. They don't feel right. They're not even functioning properly, right?
Mm. Right.
And I ask people this question all the time. I said, do you plan on being alive in 5 years? And most people, when you ask them that question, is a jarring question. Do you plan on being alive in 5 years? Because if your health is not in its best right now, right, and you're not doing anything about it,
Right.
what do you think that looks like in 5 years? All
Mm.
this money you're making, what is that going to be for? Just to pay for medication and doctors?
Right.
You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
And so, you know, um, when I started to make the shift, right,
Mm-hmm.
I understood that. I understood, look, remember when Steve Jobs died?
Mm-hmm.
He made a very, 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 very impactful statement. He said, with all this money that I have, I cannot pay anyone to lay in this hospital bed for me.
Mm.
Think about spending all your time, energy, effort trying to make money, trying to have this, have that, have all these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the process, you lose your health and you have all the money, but you don't even have enough health to even enjoy it.
Wow.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Nothing
Yeah.
in this world is more important than your health. Nothing. And
Mm.
when I say nothing, I mean absolutely nothing. Your children are not more important than your health. Your wife is not more important than your health. Your
Don't say,
religion,
don't
your
say that too
God.
loud. My wife is listening now. Don't say
I
that too
want her to hear that. You know why?
loud.
Because let me explain it to you, right?
Go ahead.
If you're laid up in bed, right,
Mm-hmm.
of what use are you to your children? Now you're a burden.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you're laid up in
Yeah.
bed, of what use are you to your wife? You're just an extra child at that point. If you're
Absolutely.
laid up in your bed, you can't even go to church and go out there and spread the word of your God. So
That's
when it
true.
comes down to your health, you need to take that first because that gives you the capacity to do everything else.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
even when it comes down to the religion part, I mean, think about that. If your God gave you that body, right, to serve Him, to go out and minister to people, right?
Mm-hmm.
What condition are you keeping? Are you keeping the gift that was given you? Imagine you lend somebody your car to go out there and do work, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They don't change the oil. They don't wash the car. The car is dirty on the inside. They don't even put water in the radiator, right?
Mm. Right.
Is that person making good use of the gift you've given them?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Sometimes you have to think about that.
Yeah. So let's stay around this section here with the health and wellness. Of course, you have a limited supply.
Supplements.
That's supplements, rather. I
Yeah.
keep saying supply. Unlimited supplements, and of course, that's your brand. How did that come about?
I always tell people in business, What is the most important thing in business, Sheldon?
Uh, most people want to provide a service and
Hmm.
make a profit. You
No,
know,
no.
to solve a problem.
Well, that's how you start a business. But what's the most important thing in business? It's connected to that. The most
Uh,
important thing in business is having customers.
yeah, that's
There you
true.
go.
Right.
You can have the
Yeah.
best product in the world. If you don't have customers,
Customer. No good.
no good.
Exactly.
And the most important thing to you, for me, to me, for you as a customer is what?
Hmm.
Trust.
It's a trust. Yeah.
Yeah. I learned that in sales school with Morgan Stanley, and had a sales coach.
Hmm.
And he says 9 times out of 10, all things being equal, people will buy
Hmm.
from the person they like. He
Hmm.
says 9 times out of 10, things being unequal, people will buy from the person they like. Okay. And
Hmm.
so, in order to be likable, you have to be genuine. You
Right.
can't be that fake likable. You have to actually care about people and care about their health and be passionate about things. You will draw the people to you that you need. You
Right.
don't have to be fake, right? And so when I got on social media, my intention at first was not even to sell anything. It
Right.
was that people just kept asking me about how I did it, how I stay in shape, and I was genuinely helping them. And
Hmm.
for at least 2 years, I was referring them to other brands, right?
Mm.
And
Right.
people were taking my recommendations, right? And my
Right.
recommendations were working for them. But then I started to look at the brands, and I started to look at the quality of the stuff that the brands were putting out. And I
Mhm.
didn't like some of the quality,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
And and I started to ask myself, I said, but why are people asking me this? Why are people asking my opinion on these things? Because they
That's true.
trust me.
They trust you. Right.
There you
Exactly.
go. So
Yeah.
since I'm trusted, and then I'm sending them to people that sometimes I don't like the product, why don't you invest your time and your energy, your money into making your own product that you can stand behind? Because the only reason why these people are buying those products is because you're telling them to.
Telling them exactly.
Exactly. And so after about 3 years
Hmm.
of building credibility,
Hmm.
building my knowledge base, right,
Hmm.
I launched
Hmm.
Unlimited Supplements. And it's been a success since that time.
Yeah. And I read also too that you actually found a partnership with Kelvin Harrington from
Yeah, those guys, they reached out to me, actually. They
Wow. How
reached
was
out to
that?
me. It just was out of the blue. Once again, people would tell you it's luck,
Right.
okay? But what
Right.
people don't understand is that the hard work puts you where the good luck can find you. So I was, out there hustling, doing my thing, and then I got, I've been posted in, I've had articles about me in the Daily Mail, in the Daily Metro in the UK, ESPN, SS Magazine. I've been in ARP a couple of times. Even ESPN has done a piece on me. Um, um, and I've been featured in TMZ, a lot of different places. And so one of those publications, I think it was the ARP one,
Right.
the guys from Shark Tank, they saw me, and they said, hey, we would love to highlight you and promote your business,
Hmm.
because you seem as if you stand apart when it comes down to health and wellness, and in the health and wellness field.
Right.
And I was like, okay, great, yeah, let's do it.
Hmm. Absolutely. Okay. Now, I know another thing that you also mentioned too is on your website. It said to know your numbers.
Mhm.
What does that mean?
Well, knowing your numbers, a lot of people don't know what their numbers are. Like, a lot of men don't even know what their testosterone levels are. They don't know what their blood pressure levels are. They don't know what their mineral levels are. When you know your numbers, you basically, is a service that I work with, that you can go and you can just order a test kit, and you can get your testosterone levels. For women, they can get their hormone levels, their thyroid levels, all those different things checked to see
Right.
whether or not they're healthy. And then based on the numbers, we can recommend lifestyle changes, dietary changes, and supplements that will help to bridge your gap to get you to proper and good numbers. Take, for instance, 90% of people in the United States are mineral deficient. Okay.
Hmm.
One of the main minerals that people are deficient in is magnesium. And every known disease, every single known disease is related to a mineral deficiency.
Right.
Every single one. Whether it's high blood pressure, diabetes, every single known disease is as a result of a mineral deficiency. So if you can keep your mineral deficiency up and keep your body clean, you can literally avoid many of diseases that ail most people. You can even slow down the aging process. You can maintain musculature. You can do a lot of different things, right? If your
Mhm.
body is properly has its proper levels of all your minerals, your vitamins, and all your nutrients.
Right. So I know that you, of course, you advocate for the health and the wellness. On your part, certainly there had to be some research to go into play. So kind of take us through that process for you, because if you are recommending things, I'm certain that you are making research on those things.
Well, like
How was that process for you?
like I said, first of all, this is something I've been researching now for 22 years. All right. So once again, this is not something you just, I just started even 3 years ago. No,
Right, right.
22 years. And that's what got me good enough to where I could be able to even recommend other products. And then every single day you have to, increase your level of knowledge. Just like yesterday, I was on the phone for about an hour with the development guys from one of my manufacturers, and we're
Mhm.
talking about new products and the benefit of certain new products that I'm actually bringing to market this week. You know,
Mhm. Right.
that are almost game changers. So it's an ever changing and never ending learning process, right? But once
Mhm.
again, this is something that I've done over 20 some odd years.
Yeah.
So
And so how
you
you
do them.
right? So
Uh-huh.
how do you? I mean, how do you keep up with that? Because, like you said, it's a field that constantly evolving. A lot of things
Mhm.
coming in. How do you keep up? With the not just the research, but of course to be able to get the informations and be able to put it out there to educate your consumers.
Well, I mean, once again, you have a base of knowledge, first of all, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then when new stuff comes out, you know, you get informed on it. Are you going to go with every new thing? No. Are you going to go with every new trend? No. But you're going to learn about it. You're going to learn about it. You hear about it. Okay, well, what is that about? What's new about this? So, like, take for instance, the guy that I was talking to yesterday. He was talking about deer antler serum.
Hmm.
Okay, deer antler serum is for example is one of the purest forms of human growth hormone, but is natural to the human body. All right, so when you take it, it's actually just going to maximize all your capacity. So it will increase your ability to build lean muscle, your endurance. It will increase your stamina, all these different things, right? But it's
Hmm.
also not a harmful thing to the human body, right?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
so what they just did with deer antler, now mind you, that's been around for a long time, but they added a few new enzymes to it that actually makes it more potent. Because once again, you have to realize science, and especially the science of anti-aging and disease research, these people are finding out new things every day. Okay. And so it is incumbent on me, if I want to bring the best service to my people and to myself, right?
Right.
That when
Right.
something new comes out, right, these guys hit me up and say, hey, we got this new thing. Let's explain it. Let me explain it to you. Da 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 da.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
So part of it is, you my own research, and then part of it is making sure you have smart people around you.
Exactly. Exactly. And
It's never going to be you doing all of it.
yes. Yes.
Smart people keep smart people. Like no, smart people keep smarter people around them.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And of course, like you said, you have to continue to build that trust and maintain the trust too of you know, your your consumers or your customers, so to
Yeah,
speak.
there was a statement that my father made to me when I was a child. That
Hmm.
and that statement has pretty much run my entire life. And that statement was this: never know nothing about the same thing twice.
Hmm.
Never know nothing about the same thing
Think
twice.
twice.
So, like just now, I mentioned to you deer
Hmm.
antler, right?
Right.
Do you know anything about deer antler?
No. Now I got to go
Okay,
do a research.
okay. So now, if you were following my father's advice, right? When you
Right.
get off with me, what are you going to
Right.
do? You're going to spend 5 minutes and find everything you need to know on Deer Antler. Why? Because as he said, if it came up once, it'll come up again. And there's nothing wrong with you not knowing anything about it the first time.
Right.
But the second time it comes up, you better
You
know
should.
something.
Yeah.
And if you use that as your formula to life and learning,
Yeah.
right, you will have
Yeah.
a vast amount of knowledge on a vast amount of things. Because even when you start reading about deer antler, right,
Mm-hmm.
you will
Mm-hmm.
hear about two or three other things that you didn't know about. And then your knowledge just continues to exponentially grow.
Right.
Okay. And it's
Yeah.
almost like a 3D effect. You actually learn and see things from many different angles because you learn so much about that and everything around it in order to to have a grasp on it. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, again, I just thought about it. Your dad was a
He
medical
was a
doctor,
doctor.
right? He's a
Yes.
medical doctor. So that's why I'm saying the health and wellness is. I mean, it was. I mean, you were growing
I
up in
started
that.
this from a long time. True
Exactly.
story. I could read at 2.5. So I started reading and I read all my father's medical journals by the time I was 9.
Wow.
Okay. And then, when I was born, my father was 60. So I
Mm-hmm.
had the luxury of, and I just thought about this recently. I had the luxury of having a father and a grandfather in one. Because a lot of times when we're young and we're fathers, we don't have the time to sit there. We don't have the patience or even the understanding of life to sit
Mm-hmm.
there and talk to a child,
Mm-hmm.
right? My father was
Right.
60. He was retired. He had all the time, tons of patience, and a wealth of knowledge. And the way
Mm-hmm.
he used to explain things to me, I don't ever remember my father talking to me like in baby talk. My dad used to talk to me like an adult. And
Mm-hmm.
so he would explain things to me when I asked him questions about, because I used to go to work with my dad. He had his little clinic where when he was retired, he used to just go there. I would sit there with him. He would put me underneath the desk. And I would hear people talking about their problems and stuff, and I would hear him how he would diagnose them. And I would read about it in the book, and I would ask him questions. And so you're talking about from the age of 6 or 7, right?
Right.
Having
Right.
a grasp on those types of conversations on the human body, or how it works, and he would take the time and explain it to you, right? And like my
Right.
dad said, I remember one time my mom asked him, why are you talking to him about those kind of things? He doesn't understand. He said, yes, he does.
Mm-hmm.
He understands. And then he asked me to explain something to my mom, and I explained it perfectly to her, you know and he said,
Yeah.
oh, he understands a lot more. You just have to take the time to explain it.
Yeah.
That's it. And
Yeah.
so me being in this mindset is not a new thing.
Yeah. You know, now that you mentioned that, I'll give you a little quick little story on my end here with understanding, dealing with children and they understanding you. I remember my boys, Jerome and Jamal, very early age, I would tell them to dress. Now, in Liberia, that terminology dress means to move, move to the left.
Yeah,
Yeah, move further down. And
yeah.
so the mother now being an American, she tells me, but why you keep telling them to dress? They got their clothes on, Jerome. They have clothes on and you keep telling them dress and dress. And so I said, well, listen, watch them. So as you look at them, I said, Jerome and Jamal, I said, dress. And then they move down. Now, you see how children, can understand. He understood they understood what I was talking about. So even though it may sound weird to somebody else, but
Right.
the children understand it. And so as you were saying that kind of rant, about your dad, he telling you stuff and talking to you in that format, kind of just took me back, in that direction.
My dad
Yeah,
used to say the purpose of communication, the purpose of communication is understanding. It doesn't matter how you say it as long as they understand
exactly,
it.
exactly. Yeah. Okay. Well, Titus, it was a pleasure, man. We totally enjoy the conversation. Of course, as I told you before, we do have a segment here in the show that we call the 5 for 5, and that
Okay.
happened to be the most popular one here. So,
Okay.
basically, asking you 5 nice questions and to see how fast or rapidly you can respond to the questions. And like we say always, is no pressure. you know. So let's see if we can get that rolling. I'm gonna get the drum
All right.
rolling then. Yeah. Okay. So, question number one: your favorite food?
My favorite food, or you know, I keep it simple. I like a good ribeye, done medium.
Mm.
Yep,
Why
ribeye
medium?
steak.
Why medium?
Because it still preserves the juices. It tastes really good. I don't really like it well done, and I like the simplicity of it. You know, nice ribeye is, you know, packed with nutrients and everything. I love it. So ribeye
Yes.
with like avocado or something like that. That's my favorite food.
Okay. All right. Appreciate that. So the next one: a favorite vacation location besides Miami.
I don't have a favorite vacation place.
Okay.
Um, my father told me when I was a kid,
Hmm.
vacation is in the mind. He said, whenever you get on a plane to go somewhere to go on vacation, right?
Right.
Remember
Hmm.
that in somewhere in that same place, somebody is getting on a plane to come to you to take vacation. So vacation is not about a place. Vacation is about a mindset. And so what
Hmm.
I do as far as is I create space in my mind for calm and peace. So I can go on vacation anywhere, anytime, because I understand vacation is about you and how you feel about you and where you are. So
Yeah.
I make my home comfortable. You know, you've been in my home before. I keep all
Right.
the food, the drinks, and everything I want, so then I can actually relax. You know, in my space with the people I want to relax with, and that's vacation.
Yes. Okay. Sounds good. All right. So the next one: day or night?
What do you mean?
Which which one? Which one you prefer? Day or night?
I don't know.
You like them both, huh?
I, you know, I don't even go. I don't even approach it from that. I believe that both of them are necessary. You know,
Right.
so I like both of them. Honestly, I cannot honestly say I like one better than the other.
Okay.
Um, if I was forced to pick, I would say I like nighttime
Hmm.
because nighttime is calm and quiet and peaceful.
Yeah.
You know,
You can say, yeah, you can kind of relax there too. All
yeah,
right.
but you can relax in the day as well. So, but nighttime is more peaceful because it less more of the distractions they're drowned out in the nighttime. So, yeah, the nighttime I would say that.
Okay. All right. So that sounds good. So the next one here is, and I know you mentioned a lot about that too, quotations. What are your favorite quote?
My favorite quote. Hmm. A man is nothing more than what he makes of himself.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. A man is nothing more than what he make of himself. That's a good one. That's a good one. Okay. So last but not least, what, and this is of course to our audience, what advice would you give someone who is starting a business?
We did cover this before, but the advice I would give someone who's starting a business is do something you love. That's number one.
Hmm.
Um, do something you're good at that you love. That's number two.
Hmm.
Do something that the world needs that you're good at and that you love. Number three.
Hmm.
And do it with passion every single day. And you won't ever regret that.
Hmm. Okay. All right. So on that note, I want to say thank you so much, Titus, for taking the time out to be able to share your journey with us. Of course, look, I know there's more in line for you from the direction you're going into, but hopefully we'll be able to get you back on the program again and kind of learn a little bit more and see some of the journey that you're going through. So thank you so much for being on the show this morning.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate that.
All right. So, to our audience, we want to say thank you so much for joining us on this episode. And as always, we hope that you were able to take a little bit advice or whatever it was, and that you can add on to your journey as well. And so, as always, jump, but don't jump too high because you have class. We'll see you in the next episode.